this is the Stewart. You can see the props. And those are brass. These are guns. Now the lady told us that some of these guns actually came off the Texas. Now I don't know, but anyway, we're going to go aboard the Stewart. These were the destroyer escorts. And why did they call them escorts? Well, they escorted convoys. They escorted other ships. When my carrier went out, it always had destroyers. And always had a submarine with it. With the fleet, that is. It was task force, whatever number was the fleet, and it had a collection of ships. But you can see, of course, when the ship was at sea, they didn't have these nets like this. They just had the cables. We'll go into some of the compartments, but back here in the old days, the destroyers had depth charges, and that's what that is. The big round can was basically the charge, and this thing on the bottom had a shoe on it that went around the barrel, and then when they fired it, it would shoot the barrel up in the air. These are depth charges. And on these, they basically rolled off the back. So you would load up these racks with these depth charges. And it would come down the rack and basically just fall off the back side of the ship. The racks are in pretty bad shape in the salt air, the sea. You can see the mast up there. The Stewart is a World War II, and she's one of the last of the escort destroyers. A lot of them were sunk, but you put a charge in here, and this was the tube that had a shoe on it to fit around the barrel, the charge itself, and it would shoot it up into the air. And they used to say, you can see the depth charges down there. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, the 2 in the back and 4 on the other side. So they could shoot multiple patterns, they called it, of depth charges. Of course, they don't use those anymore. They use torpedoes. I'm not sure exactly what they're using today, but when they got rid of the depth charges, they went, a lot of destroyers went to, I think it was called the ASROC. The destroyers would fire a torpedo, basically. Come out of a tube, fly up in the air, and then hit the water. A rocket torpedo, I guess you'd call it. But I don't know much about that, those kind of things. Here's one of the deck guns. We call these things the water chillers. We didn't have air conditioning. We basically just had these swamp coolers. It basically is what it is. It's a swamp cooler. Water would flow through this thing and it would blow air through it. That's how they got cold air or cool air inside the ship. You can see the channel out there.
I don't remember that gravel being down there. I thought this was closer to all those rocks.
Well, maybe the water's down a little bit. I don't know. I kind of remember the water being closer up too, but
I remember seeing the blocks when I looked down.
they could, to me, they could put the Texas right here beside the Stewart. Of course, they'd have to build the dry berth for her, float it in here, put up like a cofferdam or something, pump the water out, and then fill it full of gravel, dirt, and whatnot. So she's not setting in the sea all the time. But that's what's wrong with her right now. Their keel is rusted out, and they're fixing the keel of it. But I'd love to see the Texas sitting right here beside the Stewart, but I don't know. You can go inside these compartments. Emmy, you want to come this way? You can see where the water chiller was. Of course, this is the ducting for the air conditioning, not air conditioning, but the cool air. They blow throughout the ship. Now, this is what the head looks like on board a destroyer. You see, there's no toilet seats, right? Those were just basically pieces of wood. And you had your sinks back over here. But this is the head. And I explained to you how it got the name its head. But this is the bathroom and on this destroyer anyway. See, over here you had the urinals, and then you had the stools over here. And of course, Stewart, being a lot bigger than a submarine, more bathroom facilities you can see in there. And then here was the showers. There's a lot more comfort on board a destroyer than it was a submarine, but you know, this is kind of interesting. You can read that, but modern naval ships provide far more privacy. Well, yes and no. This is the engineering office. You can see a USS Melvin DD 680 is that model there. The engineering office. Here's the ship's store. Pretty small, isn't it? Well, cigarettes and, well, you can see them down there. Chesterfields, Camels, candy bars, gum, you know, toiletry items, toothpaste, that kind of stuff. We'll go through that hatch. Well, this is a machinery room. Looks like they're working on some of it. their storage place, but you can see what the device. This would be a machine room. Machine shop where they would fix things, create things, rebuild things. Huh? You're supposed to go out that way? Oh, well. I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
Well, there were arrows somewhere else. Well,
Yeah, it don't matter. There's not that many people on board, so. These can get pretty hot. Even the carrier got pretty hot. It wasn't always cool air, especially when you're in the tropics. And you got steam catapults and jet aircraft. It could get hot in some of these passageways. In your berthing area, if you didn't have a lot of chilled air. Repair station. Ooh, we'll come over here and get out of your way.
Okay.
What else been going on?
This is the galley, the kitchen, basically. These were fryers, right? That mixer had a big bowl thing underneath of it. Of course, the sinks, but they're all, some were rusted away. And these, I guess, you know, they look like cauldrons, but these are basically steam. And this is what they cook the food in, right? They'd fill these things up full of whatever, and they use steam to cook. And they had big paddles and stuff that they used to steer them and with the contents that was inside. And what was on the other way? You want to go stay out? It's probably cooler out there for you, isn't it?
yeah, I just think it's fair.
All right. You want to go down below deck? You can go down over there or down here. You want to try it? And just go down slow.
Backwards. Maybe.
Yeah, that's probably best. Just one rung at a time. There's a mess deck where guys would eat, and the table when the guys would get their food. Ice cream machine. Here's some more racks.
Remember this? We did that here before.
All right, this is where the guys would sleep,
Comes over scullery.
and this would be plates, cups, and that kind of stuff where the guys get their trays. Basically assembly line eating.
Probably the cooks slept in here, so we could get up early and get going.
Yeah. The scullery, well, this is where they wash the dishes. You can see the
On the serving bowl.
metal plates over there. Actually, I used the same kind of plates when I was in the Navy in the early 70s. But this was a steam machine that cleaned them. Pots and pans and I used the same kind of trays. Crew's quarters. You can see that And usually on these destroyers, each guy had his own bed because there was enough of them. The ship was big enough to have a rack for every guy, and you could fold them up out of the way if you needed to. And then down below were the lockers where they would have their personal items. But you lived very close together. Mattresses weren't very thick back in the day, but then again, you're 19, 20 years old, so just about. You can see how the bunks were. And then you have another hatch. Of course, these doors aren't as big as the ones on the submarine, but they serve the same purpose. During general quarters, those hatches will be closed and sealed. So if the ship did take a hit, not the whole ship wouldn't flood, only some of it.
I don't know if it's this or another one.
Oh, there's a nice model ship. The Chief Petty Officer's quarters. Higher ranking enlisted guys, in other words. They had a little more privacy, a little more area than the lower ranked enlisted guys.
Room, coffee urn.
Here's a chief's uniform. Plaque that has Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill. Stewart, after dropping off her valuable cargo, headed out in the Chesapeake Bay and North Atlantic for the next 6 months, with the words of Stewart's captain ringing in the crew's ears. Boys, you know how far too much we are going to see for 6 months. I wasn't in long enough to become a chief. I wasn't in long enough to become a first class. I would have taken the test for first class had I not got out, and that was only after 4 years of active duty instead of, I served 6 years, but 2 years were reserve. So I made it to second class anyway.
Yeah, you can't go in there.
You got it. Sometimes the hatch was closed, but the center hatch was open, and you had to crawl through that center hole.
I know it is.
You want to go out? It's pretty warm in here, so we'll go back outside. We'll go around towards the bow. Hedgehog.
Put it down.
You see the pattern here.
Last adult gets thrown.
Now we're on the very bow of the ship, and of course these are the anchor chains. And you never wanted to be around this area when they dropped the anchor. That chain would come flying out of there. And you don't want to be near it. And down below, which you can't see because they don't want you down there. But this mechanism, and down below they would have these geared assemblies that would pull the anchors back up, and this was the anchor lock. But they would hold it in place. On this one you can actually see the very first of the anchor there. Heavy. The more chain that came out, the heavier it got, right? So if you were actually too deep and the anchor never touched the bottom, you wouldn't want to be around whenever it pulled the deck apart. But of course that never happened because they always knew the depth. Over there is the ferry terminal that we took the other day. This is going up channel. You can see a cruise ship docked over there. The channel goes up and turns to the right. But over there where you see those oil rigs, that's where the Texas is at right now in dry dock. But this is looking up channel. And like I said, it turns to the right. And that's a, oh yeah, there's a pelican flying over there. And up there is the bridge. Next time you see a Navy guy or any military guy, man or woman, tell them thank you, you know? It's tough being in the military. It's tough serving aboard ships, being away from your family. So tell them thank you. Tammy and I were just talking about port and starboard, and I asked her which was which, and she guessed right. So starboard's right, port left. So anyway, I'm gonna see if I can make my way to the bridge. You can see in here, this is where they steered the ship. I think those used to be called the Annunciator. Speed of the engines. Right, forward, reverse. The steering wheel. Over there's like the 1MC. The compass. And you got to look out a little hole. The port hole. The tubes that you would talk into up there. The lever on the right controls the starboard engine. The lever on the left would be the port engine. Anyway, this is the CIC, Combat Information Center. Plot table. Radar is over there. Dead reckoning table. Ship's Communication Center. The depth, you see it over there. indicator recorder. Searchlight.
Okay, now go. Looks like we used to be able to do on
There's Mom down there on the main deck. In light communications. You open the vanes, you see that? I don't know if you can see inside there or not. This is how you would signal other ships. I think it was a carbon arc light. I may be wrong about that, but that's how you would signal other ships. Unless you use flags. Okay, here's the flag table. So this would be filled with flags. Okay, I'm going to put this down so I can crawl down the steps. The davits where the boat would be connected to, and they would swing out so they could lower the rescue boats, or the captain's gig, I guess you might call it. Motored launch. I can tell you there's a lot of things I've forgotten, I can tell you, over the years. Anyway, the USS Stewart. This would be the officer's mess. And certain parts of the ships are it's closed off. Officers' quarters. The ship's safe. Basically the officer's kitchen. Everything was cooked in the same place, it just they were served on better plates and dishes and things of that nature. So anyway, there's the Cavalla, and here's the Stewart. So when you get a chance to come out to Galveston, pay these ships a visit, and hopefully one of these days the Texas will join them. We'll see. But nice little museums. And There's Seawolf Park, the point, and the big pier that goes out over there. I get some really nice picnic grounds, facilities,
We like to sit and eat in the truck and watch the boat.
and
ships.
you can sit out there and watch the ships go by and watch people catch fish, and the seagulls steal the fish from the people. And anyway, it's a nice place. It really is. So if you're ever up this way or here in Galveston, stop by. Pay these ships a visit. Hope you had fun. I know I did. So thanks for watching.